Operational excellence pillar is one of the six pillars of a well architected framework in AWS. If you're preparing for jobs in AWS, whether it's architect or operations or as an cloud engineer, or you're preparing for certification on AWS Solution Architect Associate or Professional, you should be well versed with AWS Well Architected Framework. There are six pillars, as I covered in this part two of this six-part video series. We're going to talk about operational excellence pillar. If you missed part one, make sure that after watching this, go back and listen to the first part, which is our first pillar security, which was a security pillar, which we covered in part one. Now, towards end, I'm going to also invite you for a free class where we take you on journey to go from a complete beginner or someone who's already working into AWS and get certified and get a high-paying job. We'll give you our three-step framework, and we'll also give you the complete path, including hands-on lab and the project work you should be talking about. Also, if you're watching this first time, hitting on this blog first time, you might hear some references about the training program. So the clip has been taken from our training program. So if you hear any references, please ignore that. So let's hear directly on what our instructor talks about the operational excellence pillar.
So this is the functional pillar, operational pillar, the last one, where we talk about the operational excellence of the workload which we deploy in the cloud. So you should be able to run, monitor the system to deliver the right business value to continually improve the supporting processes and procedures. So this is what your operational excellence pillar says. If I make you understand it in layman terms, your customer came to you. He said that he has a challenge that his data's accessibility is very restricted because the data is the user of the data are available across the globe, and the data's copy is available in India, due to which the accessibility of the data becomes difficult. People are facing slowness while accessing the data. This was the problem statement. And what you created as a solution for him? You created a highly secure, cost optimized solution wherein you didn't thought about making his data globally available. So that where you will fail in your operational efficiency. You should always understand the business objective. Why the customer is coming to you? What is his main business objective? And accordingly design your solution. Okay, that is what you should always keep in mind. So operational excellence is one of the key feature of well architected framework, because it makes sure that your workload is ready for production as per the business objective. You should always keep a check and create a methodology so that no untested code is moved to production. So Amazon says always create a operational checklist before migrating your infrastructure to cloud. Amazon right now is giving a very beautiful service to all its client. So you can always talk about that service if you are already working. If you are not working, then also it is good for you to know. Right now Amazon is giving you a service wherein it says wherein it says that if you want to move to cloud, I will do a free of cost analysis of your infrastructure, and I will give you a report which tells you whether are you ready to move to the cloud, and if you are ready to move to the cloud, then in that case what will be the cost and how you can proceed. Operational excellence pillar says that you should always keep in mind that how the infrastructure is deployed, updated and operated. So in operational excellency pillar, Amazon tries to bring your focus towards the services like cloud formation, where you are doing the deployment of your infrastructure via the code. It says that try to use infrastructure as a code service. For the developer, it is saying that you should use CI/CD pipeline tools for automating the integration and the deployment processes. Use code commit, code deploy, code built features of Amazon to do all these operations. So the CI/CD pipeline tools should be used by you. Usually, if you are not aware about this CI/CD, CI/CD basically stands for continuous integration and continuous deployment. So this is basically a usual thing that you everyone know. There is a customer, there is a developer, and there is an operations team. The customer will give the requirement, the developer will create the solution, and the operations team will deploy, or you can say that deployment team. The deployment team will deploy the solution in customer premise. In the earlier generations or earlier time, there was a huge gap between the developer and the customer, because the developer who used to give the customer who used to give the requirement to the developer, it was a one time process where there was a bunch of four people going to the customer site. They were understanding the requirement, and after that the requirement was given to the developer used to create the solution as per the requirement stated by that bunch of four people, and then that part of developed code was given to the deployment team for the purpose of deploying the solution. Now there were major challenges in this cycle. The customer was not connected to the developer team all the time. When the developer was building up the solution, they were building up the solution based on the inputs which were given by the customer in the beginning. If there are any changes which are required onto the code, there was no methodologies in which the customer could communicate with the development team for recommending or for suggesting the changes, because the customer was not getting the solution in between. Once the code has been completely developed, then only the code was given to the customer for the purpose of usage. So usually what, like in general scenarios, what used to happen, maybe the customer has asked for X, and by the time the code was developed, the requirement of the market itself changed to 360-degree, and the customer no longer has the use of what he has demanded. So he should have a complete connectivity and visibility of what the developer is creating for him. There was a tools there was a bunch of tools or a methodology which was bought in the world called agile methodology, where the developer and the customer were connected with each other with this agile methodology of development, where your application which was required by the customer used to get divided into scrums. Scrums were nothing but various modules. They were divided into various modules, and the customer and the developers were continuously interacting with each other. When the first module was developed, maybe the login page was created. There will be, so these small chunks of modules were known as scrums, and there was a scrum master who was managing all this show. So he was a kind of manager. So he will give this particular login page to the customer for the purpose of testing. Is it okay? For the purpose of approving, the customer says the login page is okay, but the logo size is too big, and change the font color of this from this to this. Like this, some few feedbacks were given. So when the feedback was given for this module, the feedback given by the client was propagated to all the scrum and was implemented and incorporated in all the modules, so that the customer, all the requirement of the customers are properly fulfilled and are communicated to the developer. So the gap between the customer and the developer was fulfilled by the agile methodology. Then the world came up with DevOps. So DevOps is basically a successor of Agile, but you cannot say that the Agile can be replaced by DevOps, because Agile fills the gap between the developer and the customer, and DevOps is the methodology where there is a bunch of tools called Git, Jenkins, Maven, Chef, Puppet, containers, Docker, you can say Docker container in general, monitoring neg iOS. These are the tools which are used by the DevOps team for smoothening up the process of deployment. So, continuous integration of the new modules created by the developer and continuous deployment of those newly created tools so that they do not disturb the current deployed infrastructure. That is what known as CI/CD. So Amazon also focuses on that CI/CD pipeline. Amazon says all the tasks which you perform in CI/CD, try to use the tools of automations which are available. Like in general DevOps, we use Maven as a built tool. Amazon has got code built. Code pipeline tools are there for managing the code. So it says that try to use the automated tools of Amazon for streamlining the CI/CD pipeline. So these are the operational excellency thought processes which were there in the mind. Amazon says to create a better operational workload, you should always try to code your infrastructure, because those codes are always reusable and pre-vetted, so that if there are any problems in the code, they are previously verified and rectified. So rather than using manual deployment, try to go for by code based operations. In application also, do not make large changes in one go. Go to make frequent small and reversible changes. This is actually agile thing. Refine your processes at regular interval. Anticipate the failure, that if the failure will occur, what will I do, and plan your infrastructure in such a way that if the infrastructure failure occurs, what will be the plan of action that you will perform, and what will be the tools which will be required. So properly configure the backups and all. Prepare your organization in such a way that it is able to create a solution which is operationally excellent in cloud. Understand your organization's need, prepare the solution, put it in the cloud, keep on monitoring. Whenever new things comes up, try to incorporate those newer methodologies or services in your environment so that you evolve the processes of the business in a much better way. These are the tools which you can use. The cloud formation is the major tool which Amazon is talking about. With config, CloudTrail, X-ray, and CloudWatch, you are basically monitoring your resource. And use the CI/CD automation, code build, code commit, code deploy, and code pipeline tools for automating the deployment process of your newer things to your workload. Rather than doing it manually, try to use these managed services of Amazon for building the code, for committing the code, for deploying the code in the production environment, for maintaining the code pipeline. So use these tools, because all these tools which I am talking about are developer associate tools.
Hey, if you like this video and would like to learn how to get a high paying job on AWS Cloud, even as a beginner, or if you're already working in cloud and would like to know how to get at least 30% hike minimum, then I would like to invite you for a free class that I'm doing where we take you onto a journey and give you the complete roadmap and including our three-step framework to get a high paying job in AWS Cloud. I'm also going to give you all the complete roadmap, including the hands-on lab and the project work you should be doing. Also, some of the common mistakes you might be doing that's stopping you from getting it your dream job, whether you're applying and not struggling to get interview calls, or if you're appearing in the interviews and not getting those jobs as well. If you're interested, go to this URL, k21academy.com/AWS02. It's completely free class. Enter your name, email address, phone number, and click on enroll this free class to see you in this free class. Well, that was an operational excellence pillar in this part two of a six-part video series on AWS Well Architected Framework. In the part three, which is coming next week, we are going to talk about reliability pillar, which is the third pillar of the six-part video series or a well architected framework. So I'll see you next week.